Good, yeah.
Yep. Call the regular city council meeting of March 16th, 2022 to order at 7 p.m. If you join me in pledging the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor Copeland,
Here.
Tom Baylor,
Here.
Kathy Sherman, I thought she said she was there. Jeff Guard.
Here.
Oh, Kathy is here. Jeff Guard,
Here.
Melina Meyer,
Here.
Ann Schaefer. Oops, running back to her.
I'm here.
David Allison,
Here.
here. And David Gleason.
Here.
That's everyone.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved as published. Does council have any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications to disclose? Okay, hearing none, we have communications by and petitions from visitors. Don't have any guest speakers scheduled for this evening, so now's the time for any audience comments regarding agenda items. Would anyone in the audience like to speak? Okay, seeing none, chairpersons and representatives of boards and commissions. Do we have a CCMC Authority Board member online? Okay, hearing none, a school board representative? Okay, I don't hear one, and we don't have a student council representative. So approval of the consent calendar, we have 4 items on there, proclamation, a resolution, council waive the right to protest, and minutes from a regular meeting. Would council like to set any of those aside and address them individually? Okay, seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
So on the consent calendar, Jeff Guard,
Yes.
Ann Schaefer,
Yes.
David Gleason,
Yes.
Melina Meyer,
Yes.
Tom Baylor,
Yeah.
David Allison,
Yes.
and Kathy Sherman.
Yes.
The consent calendar is approved.
Okay, so just for the record, that was a proclamation of appreciation to Wendy Rainey. Resolution 3-22-7, approving the license for a mobile restaurant for Jen's. The council action to waive protest of renewal of liquor license number 919 for the Powder House in the minutes of the February 16th, 2022 regular council meeting. So the minutes were approved in the consent calendar. We don't have any bids to consider this evening. So reports of officers. Mayor's report, I don't have a lot to report. In fact, I have almost nothing to report, so I'll just pass the gavel to the city manager.
Okay, thank you. There is a written report in your packet. I did just want to go over it briefly. The union has rescheduled again their ratification vote meeting, which was supposed to be held tomorrow. It's now rescheduled for the end of the month. They seem to be having some scheduling conflicts with the staff in Anchorage and their ability to get down here. So we will not have a contract to present to you until the next meeting. So we again just got word of that recently. We have a harbor rebuild status report that's in your packet, and Sam is here to answer any questions, as is, actually Tony's not here. I just want to let you know we did go out to RFP for audit. We will be that will close next week, and our goal is to get a cost-effective audit that will be timely, and we have a deadline in the audit RFP for a end of September report back to council. This week, in fact, just today, I returned from Juneau, where I went down to lobby for the harbor rebuild project and to try to get some additional funding for that. It was a very, very successful meeting. Met with just about everyone who would be key towards making sure we had resources available for that. Broad support. I have 3 people who are on Senate Finance who appear to be willing to carry it through the Senate Finance process. They're responsible for the capital budget. So all is looking good. Knocking on wood, we will know something within a month and a half. And I'll keep you posted on that, but I will be making sure we're on that. We don't have a lobbyist at this time, but I think from everything I've been given, we should be able to advocate on our own behalf, and we will do so. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sam, and she can talk a bit about the harbor and where we're at.
Could be. No, 12?
Okay. So I'm just going to give you a quick update since the progress report. R&M and Mark were in town last week, and they did some on-the-ground work and talked engineer talk, did some surveys. They have a base map that's in AutoCAD and accurate to what's on the ground here. We also talked just a lot about cost-saving ideas and feasibility of all those kinds of things, and it was pretty good, pretty intense. Also, we did a Q&A with the public, with Mark. The Harbor Commission was here, and the public was invited. Everybody was invited. I don't know, what do you think, Helen? 15 people?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
About 15 people. I thought it was pretty well attended. Good questions, good thoughts. Mark took it all in and appreciated it, and we'll keep it moving forward as we move forward. I also met, okay, I'm going to try to say his name and not butcher it, but I probably will. Garth Shulman. He is a lawyer out of Seattle. He's a construction lawyer. He is a partner in a firm with Fick and Franklin. And he's got 38 years in construction experience. Mark has worked with him before. He also spoke extremely highly of Mark, which was very nice to hear, and about his skill of bringing projects home and on time, and with everybody being buddies at the end. And he believes highly in what he can do, what Mark can do, and also what he can do to provide us with a contract that'll keep us good. So we're trudging along on all the
So do you want to just, we are entering into negotiations with that attorney. We'll have a contract.
Correct. He has agreed to do the project manager contract, the design build contract, and then be on retainer basically throughout the project. We're just negotiating all those terms for that. But we'll have that in place quickly enough to get Mark's contract signed. Yeah, and we're just trudging through the steps of meeting all the requirements. It's a lot of stuff, but it's not very interesting to report on. But if anybody has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Councilman Schaefer.
Can you repeat the name of the? I'm sorry, just the first name even.
Garth.
Garth.
It's Shlemin.
Schlemin?
Schlemin, I think is kind of how Mark
There's
said
more
it.
syllables, it sounded like.
Anyway, he has a webpage.
And was it Mark, because after our last council meeting 2 weeks ago, we had talked about if we needed to have a specialized attorney, and it was Mark's opinion that it would behoove
Oh, yeah.
us to go with that? Okay.
He totally agreed that it's all in your best interest to have a very experienced and specialized lawyer to develop these contracts.
And so we went out and, with Mark's recommendation, contacted this individual, and he will be the contracted attorney for this project to help with all contracts as well as any other legal issues that come up.
Council questions online?
Councilman Baylor.
Councilman Baylor?
No, I'm really glad to follow through with suggestion and talk with Mark and got a lawyer that specializes in these projects. So, and I've been hearing nothing but good things about the way Sam and the rest of the team have been pushing this forward. So I'm real happy if those are involved with this, and let's hope it keeps running smooth for us.
Other council questions or comments? And then I'll go back to Councilman Schaefer. But Helen, you had something to add?
No, I just want to make sure I do have one more report, finance report.
Okay, we'll get to that
Thank
afterwards, you bet.
Yep.
Any other question on Public Works report? Okay, Councilman Schaefer.
I was just wondering I was reading today an article about how like construction material prices are theoretically supposed to come down during 2022. And so I was wondering if there's a way at some point as prices come down to like lock in prices, even if we're not ready to be in the construction phase or like actual purchasing phase. If there's a way to come into contract with that.
Funny, we were just talking about that today, although not about prices coming
We
down.
probably read the same article.
So we need to do some pre-authorization through the RAISE grant in order to access funds to lock in prices on long lead items, steel, floats, things that take a bit of time to make and then to get here. So that is a project that I'll be working on. And then also, but we need to get that RFP and the design, so we have some ideas, but that is a plan of attack for that.
Okay, good question. I just snorted a little bit because of that. I've administered quite a few grants and know how difficult it is to get accommodations sometimes, especially if you're looking out into the future. But good question, though. Any other questions on the Public Works report? Okay, Helen?
So I did want to draw your attention to the financial reports this is as of February. I'm sorry, the header disappeared. But on page 30 and 31 is year-to-date through February, end of February 2022. You'll have budgeted column, the year-to-date, January, February, prior year-to-date, and it gives you a sense of the differences and where we are. Also in there on page 31 is a cash report. It shows the account balances. I think there's been concern over the years about where each of these funds, the enterprise funds and the various restricted funds are, and so that those funds are listed at the bottom of that cash report. And if anyone has any questions, please let me know. I'm working with our contracted CPA who's helping with finance. Our goal is to segue from them doing the work to us doing much of it in-house, but in acknowledgement of our need for assistance at this moment in time, our contractor is doing these reports. And if there's a different way you want them presented to you, please let me know if you want more detail. And if there's any questions at all, just let me know.
I got one, Ellen.
Yep.
Use that.
Councilman Gleason?
So at 7, the FNBA Harbor, is that the raw fish tax, our 0.5% raw fish tax, the wharfage stall rent increase? Is that what that number?
That's a different number. It should be down below, and we may not have totally got that set up yet in the right way. The harbor enterprise fund, we have close to $200,000 in that depreciation, that 0.5% fund for the harbor reimbursement. And we're still setting up some of those accounts, so, and separating out the funds so that they are accurately reflected on the statement. So I think I will make sure that they're properly labeled and very clear for the next report in March.
Okay.
Other questions, council, online? Okay, thank you. Anything else, Helen? Or?
No.
Okay. Clerk's report.
I put in a written one too, just kind of highlighting a few important things, like that assessment notices are out and the appeal period is open until April 8th. There's a little bit of a blurb I also put in the packet, if anybody's listening online, about some of the changes in the Chase Avenue, Lefevre Center Drive area. But if anybody, wants to appeal, obviously call us or email us. There's an appeal form on the website. But we can also explain some of that, Tina and I, verbally maybe, to help them out before an appeal. So if they want to call us, they can do that. And then obviously we counted ballots this morning. There were 12 valid ballots to count today. It did close the gap to 2 for the mayor's race, and then that causes an automatic recount, and it stayed the same at 2. So David Allison has won by 2 votes for the mayor's race. And then the resolution that's in the packet for certification was left blank, and I have copies on the side. And I think I should have emailed it to everybody, and then I also put copies on the desks here. So that's about it. I can answer any questions too.
Any questions, council? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to revert to the mayor's report for a minute and do one of the things mayors enjoy doing, which is appreciating volunteers to the community. And I'll invite Wendy up to join me in just a minute. Wendy Rainey, not going to get off the hook that easy with the proclamation without having it read into the record. So you can get your camera tuned up, Zachary. But before I read this into the record and invite Wendy up to receive it, I just want to say that over the 6 years as mayor, I haven't appointed anyone to boards and commissions and volunteer positions more than Wendy. And I do a lot of diligence on those. It's important to get good people, and a lot of times there's more applications than there are positions. So I always reach out to the city departmental staff and talk with them and make sure that the volunteers are actually, showing up to the meetings, contributing, reading their packets. And I always got glowing evaluations for Wendy and her contributions. And so as many roles as she serves, both on city boards and commissions and with EMS and everything, really does the work. And it is, as former mayors have said, Cordova rises and falls on volunteers. So really appreciate those efforts and just wanted to add that. And the proclamation does speak to that service on other roles. In addition to this one that we're going to recognize her for. But I want to point out that this is just one of the many roles that Wendy serves. So if you want to come join me, Wendy, we'll read this into the record.
Where's it going? I don't know.
Close that microphone. So this is a proclamation of the city of Cordova, Alaska. A proclamation of appreciation to Wendy Rainey. I, Mayor Clay Copeland, do hereby issue this proclamation of appreciation to Wendy Rainey for her 9 years of invaluable contributions to the citizens of the city of Cordova as a member of the Cordova Library Board and as a dedicated and involved volunteer in numerous other posts within Cordova. So whereas Wendy has been actively involved with the Cordova Library Board for close to 9 years, including as the vice chair, and whereas Wendy was instrumental in establishing and organizing the Mount Eccles Elementary School Library, and coordinating its efforts with those of the Cordova Library. And whereas Wendy helped with the big move from the old to the new library, epic event. And whereas Wendy helped reactivate Cordova's Friends of the Library. And whereas Wendy has encouraged literacy and library use in Cordova through her numerous book reviews in the Cordova Times. And whereas Wendy has served and continues service to the community in various other ways, as president of Friends of the Library, president of Cordova Veterans of Foreign Wars Auxiliary Post, board member of Cordova Telecom Cooperative, chair of the city's Parks and Recreation Commission, member of the city's Historic Preservation Commission, trustee of the Cordova Historical Society, board member of Cordova Chamber of Commerce, member of Secure Rural Schools Prince William Sound Resource Advisory Committee, Cub Scouts leader, and director of 4-H Music Camp. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the mayor, the city council, and the citizens of Cordova, hereby express their sincerest appreciation to Wendy Rainey for her longtime devotion as a volunteer serving the Cordova Library Board and for her overall dedication and involvement as a citizen of Cordova. Signed this 16th day of March, 2022, Clay Copeland, Mayor. Thank you, Wendy. Okay, so we had correspondence in the packet as presented. Any questions or comments, council? Those included Alaska Business Magazine, March 2022 article on the Cordova South Harbor, Department of Natural Resources, Mining, Land, and Water Agency review for aquatic farm site lease in Simpson Bay for wild blue mariculture, and a Alaska Mental Health Board?
No, it's
What is
the
that?
new AMHS. I don't know
Okay, thank
what it
you.
stands for. Sorry.
Marine
That's the
Highway
Marine
Operations
Highway
Board.
Operations Board, yeah. Alaska Marine Highway Operations Board, March 11th, meeting, announcement, and information. Okay, hearing no comments, ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 03-22-06, a certification of the official results of the March 1st, 2022 City of Cordova general election.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion to certify the election results in a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you know you weren't going to get out of here without certifying the election. This will be my last regular meeting. Resolution 03-22-08, a resolution of the Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing the city manager to enter into a sole source contract with Mark R. Keller, LLC, to provide project management for pre-construction services, procurement, fabrication, construction, and closeout tasks for the South Harbor Rebuild Project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a move to, a motion to adopt a resolution, and second, discussion, council?
Just say Mark's our guy. Totally in favor of this.
Okay, Councilman Schaefer, to your second?
So just to clarify, this covers his contract, like through the duration of the project, even now that it's shifted, into 2024. It's the full duration. Okay. Wanted to make-
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, I'm not.
Yeah.
A discussion, council? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The resolution passes. Next item is Resolution 03-22-09, a resolution of the Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, supporting Governor Dunleavy's $310 million general obligation bond financed infrastructure proposal.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion Schaefer, second Gleason. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councilman Schaefer?
Is this the same thing that Bert Cottle at the state was working
Yes.
on that you met with? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, just wondering.
So we were asked to support the governor's efforts to put a general obligation bond, the first in many years, in front of the voters this fall. And they're looking for support from communities that might benefit from that GO bond. And as I said in my memo, it remains to be seen if that will be needed given the price of oil and the amount of money that seems to be available to the government. But this is a supportive document on our behalf in case the governor decides to do it.
Would you like to speak to your second, Councilman Gleason?
I'll just say that I support this. Probably about the only thing I'd support from that guy.
Further discussion, council? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay, opposed? I heard 7 ayes, so resolution carries. We have no unfinished business on the agenda. Under new business, council concurrence of mayor's appointments. My apologies, council, for not getting an email or getting this out to you sooner, but I'm appointing Tanya Harrison to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I know she had a long effort there and is familiar with the process and articulated well and engaged with the Planning and Zoning Commission. The real downside of this appointment is that we had 2 applicants. I would love to be able to appoint them both because it's a very hard commission to fill, and it is a big lift and a lot of work, so really appreciate both applicants. The other was Christopher Iannazzoni, and so I'd encourage him to reapply if there's an opportunity or look for other boards and commissions, but I am appointing Tanya. And then we did receive Robert Beadle did submit an application to continue serving on the Prince William Sound Regional Citizens Advisory Committee. Council, thank you. Having a hard time with that last C. And so and we had no other applicants. So obviously appreciate his long service and the continuity and familiarity with the work that they have in progress there. So reappointing him to Prince William Sound RCAC as our representative. And those were my appointments.
I move to concur with the mayor's appointments. Tanya to Planning and Zoning and Robert Beadle to RCAC.
Does that require a second? Yes. I'll second.
So have a motion Schaefer and a second Gleason to concur. Would you like to speak to your motion? Schaefer.
Thanks everyone for stepping up.
Councilman Gleason?
In favor.
Any discussion, council? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Mayor Copeland,
Yes,
can I just say one thing?
yes.
There's also a vacancy on Historic Preservation Commission. I just wanted to bring that to people's attention if anybody's listening in the audience who's interested. And I also wanted to say that these applications stay on file with me. So often when the next seat comes available, I reach out to people who've applied. So
Great.
I will do that again next year.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've appreciated that in the past too, those reminders. It's a good starting place, so. So there's a Cash Fest liquidity analysis report is a discussion item. So I'd open it up for council discussion. That item was on page 64. Councilman Schaefer.
That's Councilman Baylor.
Okay, Councilman Baylor, then Schaefer.
I really appreciated.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening.
Go go ahead, Councilman Baylor, sorry.
Go ahead. Next.
Okay, Councilman Schaefer, then Baylor.
Sorry, I got confused. Yeah, I appreciated having this report in the packet and that it was done, just getting a better handle on what the financial status of the city is, and just on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis is nice. And the bullet pointed highlights were also really helpful. Are staff paid on paper checks, or is it direct deposit?
We do a lot of direct deposit, but there are some that choose paper checks for whatever reason. And there are some vendors that get paid paper checks as well. So we are working, we are going to start putting some effort into migrating that as much as possible to try to get a higher percentage of our transactions ACH.
I was just wondering what the anticipated cost difference would be from switching from paper to electronic.
It actually is in the CashVest report, and it shows that it's more expensive. Paper services are 8% of total fees. 19 cents a check for paper. ACH is $1.02 per. And part of it has to do with volume, and we're going to negotiate with the banks to get those numbers down. If I may speak a little bit to CashVest, they're an entity that I hired on contract, a modest contract, to provide counsel and me with information to help us make financial decisions. Over my tenure here, I've heard a lot of talk about we're not doing this, we're not getting returns, whatever, and I've felt uncomfortable making any recommendations because I didn't feel like I had all the data that I needed and couldn't communicate to you the data you needed. So this organization went through 2 years worth of revenue and all transactions coming to every single bank account that we have. Then they analyzed it based on return on investment, the cost of the investment, the amount of cash that we have invested or not, how it's performing. And we'll start getting regular reports from them. But the bullet points on page 64, 1 through 6, are a highlight of this first initial kind of review of 2 years worth of transactions. The good news is that we got a 92 based on their scoring criteria, which is higher than most organizations get when they first utilize them. They're usually in the 70s, and there's a lot of improvement that can be made. Where we've fared very well is the fact that we have UBS, or investment account, which many local governments do not do. They usually just invest in the most conservative bank CDs or just general investment, bank investment accounts. So, but again, this is just a synopsis. And if at any point anyone wants CashVest to come and present and understand in more detail how we're doing. But I will say that based on some simple guidance that CashVest is giving us, number one, we do indeed have money that is sitting in and is being underutilized. I will have our next meeting, hopefully some information from both UBS and FMBA as to how they might better invest our money and to invest what looks to be about $2 million that is just sitting around not earning what it should be, that we can look at a 12-month investment or longer. So I'll have more information about that at the next meeting. But I at least feel confident or more comfortable making recommendations because we now have some good data.
Mr. Mayor?
I had Councilman Baylor next, and then Councilman Guard.
Okay, well, thank you for this information. And the first bullet point, the city outperforms most municipal governments in the U.S., but there's room for improvement, which I totally agree with. And it's something I've been seeking that we start looking into and get more information. And the city investment policy is robust and appropriate for the current investment activities, but it should be reviewed at least every other year. It's another point that I've been sort of preaching that we need to be looking at this more often than we do. Going 10 years, 12 years, 15 years without even looking at it is ridiculous. And I would remind everybody that was the council that pushed this to get into UBS in the first place. The manager at the time, staff, you know, they just had this thing sitting at a bank account collecting 0.005% interest. So we do need to follow up on these things. I think we can do better, and I appreciate the information. Thank you.
Councilman Gard?
Yeah, I appreciate the information here. It's been a long time since we've seen very much on financials. But my thing here is basically, I think, clerical. Page 69 of the packet, or page 4 of the, what are we calling this? The Cash Fest report. It shows UBS and 12.9%, it looks like 12% on $9.5 million, and we made $302,000 in interest, which doesn't quite equate out right. So I don't understand how we made over 12% and only made $300,000 per year. The period stats section.
I believe the period is not, it's not a, it's, I'll double check because that is a full year. So let me check on that and I'll get back to you. I'm not clear. I think that my understanding was that was it might have been a shorter period of time, but according to this graph, it isn't. So let me report back on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Further discussion, council?
Yes, Councilman Baylor.
Councilman Allison, I'll let you speak first, and then we'll go back to Councilman Baylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, appreciate this report, and it does show that there's some work to be done. Of course, we've all known the finance department needs some help there, and I guess my only comment is shows that we have much money in the account, and I can bet what the bank is going to suggest. It's not going to be very good, but anyway, I guess what I want to get down to is that we need to be accounting for the enterprise fund appreciation account, whether most of that money that's in the sweep account is that enterprise fund money, and we need to be accounting for that and crediting them with the interest that their money is earning. It hasn't been happening that way, and I hope that the suggestion that comes out next meeting does indeed show that we want to account for the enterprise funds appreciation accounts and credit them with some interest and get them earning some interest, which hasn't happened. So anyway, I guess that's my point.
Okay, Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, and follow up on page 69, the bullet point, interest at UBS represents interest earned, dividends received, and realized gains. These earnings are shown gross of fees. And I guess what I've been calling for a long time also is what are we paying them compared to what the returns are. So showing gross fees doesn't really help. We'd like to know what we're paying out and what we're actually getting after we pay the fees. So thank you.
Okay. And then just to speak to Councilman Gard's point, that little top tier, the period stats is for a quarter, and it's probably quarter ended December 31st. So the numbers are a little backwards. It earned 13% for the quarter. So it shows up as like a fourth The amount earned is just a fourth of what you'd expect because it's on a quarterly basis, not an annual basis. But then the earnings for the year were only 5%. So what that's saying is year-to-date, you only earned 459,000 total, but you earned 300,000 of it in the last quarter. And that makes that last quarter means that you earned the equivalent of 12.09 or 12.9% annual. So that's what that was.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Okay.
Right. How did we?
I knew there had to be something I wasn't understanding, but I was looking at the timeline for the graph up above.
It took me a couple of minutes, but I had my Hewlett Packard in my pocket. So.
And my brain is somewhere else completely, so thank you.
Other discussion on the liquidity report? Okay, thank you. Permanent fund earnings and use, page 89, also a discussion item. So I'll open it for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, Alan.
Councilman Allison.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed there wasn't a resolution in there to move that to the permanent fund, but I'm still of that opinion. I know that there's a lot of things that we can spend that money on, but I think it should be moved into the permanent fund principle, and if we need money for a valid reason to get out of the permanent fund, we've got to wait to do that. But it's just too easy to spend with it sitting in the general fund. So anyway, that's my comment on it.
Okay. Other comments, discussion, council?
Yes, Councilman Baylor.
Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, I would agree with Councilman Allison's statement. I would go with number 3 and reinvest all earnings in the permanent fund accessible only with the supermajority of the council members.
Okay. Other comments, discussion, council?
I agree with both Tom and Dave.
Okay. Don't forget your mic.
Number 3.
Don't forget your mic. Okay. Yeah, so 3 councilmen spoke in favor of that option, so just, that's why you have discussions to, I guess, signal each other and share your thoughts, so. Other discussion?
Well, maybe the next mayor can bring that forward as a resolution.
Roger that.
This is Councilmember Myers.
In favor of that.
Okay, I think I heard Councilman Guard say I'm in favor of that, and then Councilman Meyer, discussion.
I honestly don't have a strong opinion about it. I could go with it going to the permanent fund, and then it's only accessible with the supermajority of council. I can also see how it could be beneficial to have it kind of set aside in some way so we know what the annual earnings are and what we have to somewhat play with to put into a capital improvement budget, and maybe that's where that is funded, or also with the inflation proofing. So I'm a little torn on it. I don't feel really strongly one way or another on it.
Okay. Helen.
I just wanted to also add, just bring to your attention on page 90, there are some big ticket required matches for Whiteshed Road and the 2nd Street reconstruction projects coming up. And we've been paying it out of general fund or the annual operating budget. So 2025, we have a $900,000+ commitment. 21 and 23 payments for the 2nd Street project have already been paid out of the general fund. We have 233 plus, basically over 300,000 due in 2024 for Second and White Shed Road. So just to bring that to your attention, I just wanted to make sure that, if we do put this back in the permanent fund, then it would be one of those things where we need a supermajority to pay that out of the permanent fund. And just to give everyone a heads up, just over 300,000 in 24 and over 900,000 in 2025.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion, council? Comments?
Councilman Sherman.
Councilman Sherman.
I wanted to thank staff for this presentation. It was really helpful. And I am in favor of reinvesting and using a supermajority of council members. That's always been effective in the past, and I think it's a good way to do business. But I really appreciated staff putting out all the masses that we have coming up. Sometimes we all lose track of that over the years. And I would happily entertain resolutions to pay out of the permanent fund for these masses. These are things that the community wants, that we've all discussed. And I think that's the way that they should be brought forward to council, is in the form of a resolution and as we vote on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Helen.
So I can bring a resolution for the next council meeting. And I don't believe there's any reason to change code just with the resolution. So we'll just leave the code as is. Is that my understanding, Willow Council?
That's my thoughts, Councilmember Allison.
Okay, so for clarity, that's bring a resolution to council to put the earnings into the permanent fund?
Yes, is that what you said, Helen?
Helen?
Do that.
Yeah, so right now the code says the net income of the fund is unrestricted general income. But if through resolution you want all earnings of the corpus to be reinvested in the permanent fund, I think the resolution supersedes code, right? I mean, it gives direction to code.
Are you putting a time frame on it? Like saying in perpetuity do that, or?
I'm just asking the question.
I think it would depend on how the resolution was worded, I guess.
Well, it's just a single action to move this 1 year's earnings
Yes,
or whatever into
yes.
the
So
corpus.
we'll just move the current earnings then by resolution, and then council every year would bring that up and say, what are we going to do with the earnings?
I think that would
I
be.
think that's what I'm hearing, yeah, from council.
Okay.
It's just, yeah.
I would rather see a resolution that would move those earnings in every year. I think it's always wiser to have the majority decide how to spend that kind of money, and if the project's worthwhile, I don't see any hang of doing it. So I would rather see it from here on in be returned to the permanent fund.
Would that require a code change? We may need to get clarification on that because code says that the net income of the fund is unrestricted general income of the city. So I don't know how through resolution you could do it except for annually perhaps. I don't know. We'll have to check. We'll get clarity on that. We'll bring whatever resolution that is legally possible that doesn't conflict with code and if it does conflict with code, to do that permanently. Is it the will of the body to change code, in which case we'll get some language?
Thank you.
Allison?
Councilman Allison.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest. Yeah, if we need to do a resolution for this year's and then do the code change over the number of meetings that it takes, then let's do that. But that's my thoughts too. It should always go back to the principal, and if we've got projects to leverage the money, like a street project or something like that, then that makes sense to take it from the permanent fund. But it should be a supermajority council that decides that.
Okay, any other thoughts, council? Yeah, just, well. Okay. Next item, city council membership on city boards and commissions, discussion item. That's pending agenda, capital improvements, project list, calendar, elected and appointed officials lists. So, any pending agenda items?
What, well, there's an item
Oh, go ahead.
first.
Okay, I
There's
see
that
there.
discussion
I didn't
item.
see the page number on it. I see.
There's nothing written.
Gotcha. So, city council membership on city boards and commissions. So, council, this speaks to if you're a sitting member of council and also sitting as a member of a city board or commission, essentially you're getting 2 bites at the apple. So we've had this come up in the past, and often, in fact, one of the council members now resigns from that board or commission when they take the council seat, because you're in a position of higher authority where you get to make the ultimate decision, and it can actually hamper others. If there's citizens interested in sitting on that board or commission, then it denies them a chance to sit there. So I know council's discussed this at length in the past, and I think a past concurrence was that, and there's different elements of it. You can be a ex officio member sitting on a board, so you're just there to gather information on council's behalf and report back to council, just like as if you were like Councilman Baylor sitting on PISWAC, for example. And then there's voting positions where if a councilman has a voting position on the Planning and Zoning Commission, for example, they kind of get 2 bites and get pre-informed before the rest of the council has a chance to see the information and vote on it. And they're actually voting in 2 different roles. So those are the discussions that have come up in the past. And, there's a little blurriness around ex officio positions, but I know in the past council's been concerned about councilmen voting on an issue, and again, having access to a lot different and a lot more and a lot earlier information than the rest of the council, and then also getting to vote ultimately as a council person. So that's what the discussion item is, and just like to provide an opportunity for council to discuss that. Councilman Schaefer?
Are there legal considerations around, a city council member voting in a board and then voting again, or having access to information at different times and discussions at different times and the rest of the council?
I want to say we did check with council. I don't remember what they said. It's been a while.
Yeah, I should have looked at that. I feel like we had an entire work session with Holly on this.
I have a memory of this.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I don't recall exactly. I mean, we did change, either at that time, we changed it all to may, the word may, so that one of the members of each of the city boards and commissions may be a council member.
Yeah.
Or a council member may be, or one of the, anyway, may. I feel like you were one of the ones who, when that became a rule, you had been on Parks and Rec and you saw that there were 2 applicants for a seat and you stepped down. So, but that is not required, but that's been done. But yes, it was discussed that Holly thought, I think there was vulnerability in having.
There was concern about it. So while it may not be necessarily illegal, there is kind of best practices and good form and perception. And so.
Councilman Sherman.
Councilman Sherman.
So I'm sitting here as the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. But in regards to that commission specifically, it is set up by the Certified Local Government Program, and it requires certain positions, like there has to be an archaeologist, there has to be I can't remember everything, but one of them is a historian, and that's me. And so I'm happy to step aside, but I just think it's important to keep in mind that in a really small community, sometimes, more specifically like the Historic Preservation Commission, there are certain requirements that are really difficult to meet. And right now we're still switching for an archaeologist to fill staff on that commission. So anyway, I'm happy to step aside from that commission, but it is difficult in a small community.
So, and then, you know, the funny thing, I guess, too, structurally is that if you're sitting on if your council always gets to concur or not occur with the mayor's appointment, and the mayor ultimately makes appointments there, and it's certainly something I considered and have actually talked to councilmen about it. But, you know, if someone's elected when they're already sitting on a board, then that chance doesn't come along. So, good point, Councilman Sherman. And you just reminded me, a little bird told me that there now, I think, is a certified archaeologist at the Forest Service on staff. So there's an opportunity for your commission.
I'll tell the birdies that I know that go after people like that.
Yeah, I think that was one of the required positions. So, other thoughts, discussion? Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, I think your comment that a council member serving on the board may have more information, to me, that's a good thing as long as it gets shared at an open meeting with the rest of the council. But I think the whole point of having the May in there is some of us that have been around for a while, remember at times when we couldn't get people for planning and zoning, we couldn't get people for the harbor and some of these other boards and commissions. So it was helpful to appoint a council member on it. And in the past practices, once that happened, if we did get some applicants, we kind of rotated those people out. So I would just recommend we stay the same as we have with May. We use a little common sense, and as we get people that can fill these positions, we rotate people in and out. I don't know of anybody that was on council, that was on a board or commission, jumped up and down and said, no, you can't take me off. I mean, they've been more than willing to get less meetings in their schedule. So, but I think we need to keep the May in there that allows us to keep these boards and commissions operating.
Okay, yeah. And thanks for that reminder. I do recall that coming up in the past with not having vacancies. So, other thoughts, council? Councilman Gleason?
Yeah, I just think that city council makes the decisions on, you know, we just get information from these boards. So I kind of feel like if you want to volunteer for it, I don't think you're getting an advantage. You may be taking that position away from somebody else, but like Tom said, it's not like people are banging down the door to, you know, to do these things. So I don't know that it hurts anything to be on city council and a board, in my opinion. So I think that we should leave it where you can if you want to, and if you don't want to, you just be on city council.
Okay. That sounds like it's pretty much the consensus. Any other thoughts, council?
Yeah. Yes.
This is Councilman Meyer.
Councilman Guard.
Councilmember Guard, then Meyer.
Yeah, thank you. I have issues with getting two bites at the apple on this. I've said so before, and I'll say so again. The situation that worries me coming up is we're about to start into a rather large project in the harbor, and I would hate to see feathers get ruffled any place and see us end up in lawsuit problems while we're trying to finish a project that size in a year and get as little disruption as we can in the harbor. I think ex officio for stuff like this gives everybody a way to stay connected. You can get your reports back, like Councilmember Baylor was talking about. It doesn't take people out of sitting on something if they're interested, but there should not be multiple votes on the same thing by somebody that's sitting on the council. And I think our legal counsel has alluded to this more than once, so I don't want to see us get in any kind of trouble there. So I don't think you should have a voting seat on the city council and a board or commission. That's what I've got.
Okay, Councilman Meyer?
Yeah, I agree. I think the more information and sitting in on meetings is really beneficial, but I have a problem with the voting aspect of it, and, especially when we have community members that are willing and able to fill those seats. I think that would be the way to go. I don't think it's a bad idea for us to be sitting on these other boards as official members and non-voting, and then we can relay some things. But I think the problem gets into when we're voting on both things.
Okay. All right, I think most of you have weighed in. Any other thoughts or discussion, council?
Mr. Mayor, this is Alex.
Councilman Allison?
Yeah, I guess I'm on the first train there. I think the May is probably okay. I could be argued, I guess, whether it's ex officio or voting member, but I think the way we changed it some years ago to the May is probably working the best. I liked it when there was mandatory somebody from council on those boards of commission, because I think that made it brought the information to council a little more than, sometimes we never hear from some of these commissions and never know what's going on over there. And of course, the mayor has a meeting with them once a month, and that information may or may not come back to council. But I think it ties us closer together with our commissions and boards, and I think by not having somebody, sometimes we might be eliminating the highest, most qualified, most informational skilled person from that position, and I think it's important. The two bites of the apple doesn't bother me any. I think that if there is a council member that is on a board or commission, it would be their responsibility to bring that information to the council at our council meetings and share that information that they're learning with the council. But I don't think we need to make any drastic changes now and kick everybody off of every commission that is on council. I think that that's going a little too extreme, and leaving it may solve that solution. If there's a bunch of people that want to apply for a board, then certainly it's the mayor's responsibility to appoint and council to concur or disagree and appoint somebody else. So every time there's an appointment to go on, it's the opportunity for council to change their minds on that. So I think leaving it the same. I'm on that first train.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. I was indentured to planning and zoning my first term on council. So, and then also thanks for the reminder of the mayor's meetings of boards and commissions. We've suspended those during the pandemic for almost 2 years, but those are really helpful, I think, and be good to think about rebooting those. Councilman Gleason, then Schaefer?
I was just going to say, these commissions, they have public meetings, so even if we make somebody step down, they can still go to the meeting and, get their information, same information. So, it's, to me, it's pointless to make people step down.
Okay. Councilman Schaefer? Did you have your hand up, or?
Yeah, I was just saying, I wouldn't mind if that memo from the city attorney was, okay, yeah, just to get another read through.
Okay.
And
I gave her the thumbs up on that. I will find that and email it to council, maybe put it in a packet if you want me to put it in the next packet.
sure.
Okay. All right. I think you've all had a bite or two. Any other discussion there? Okay, pending agenda. Sounds like heard request for a resolution. Manager saw that, and also a little bit of research to see if that would require anything in the code. Anything else?
I just wanted to tell people that there's the mayor will be swearing in the new board council members tomorrow. And, well, the new mayor if he was in town, but I guess he's not in town. At noon tomorrow here. And I do have takers on that, so there will be
Okay.
about 4 or 5, I think. Oh, and
Question, Mr. Baylor?
Yeah, Councilman, was that Baylor?
Yes, I'm just curious if I got to get 4 after since I re-elected, or if I just keep on going.
I think, yeah, are you back in town anytime soon, or no?
No.
No. All right, I'll send you another oath card maybe, and you can just sign it and send it back. Or, we can talk on the phone. We can do one. We've done that before.
Probably not Rainey.
Okay, thanks.
Where Tom's at.
No, I'm sure.
Okay. Anything else there?
Mr. Mayor, this is Al.
Councilman Allison?
Just FYI, I'll be back in town Sunday night, so.
Okay, great. We can arrange a time next week. We had CCMC Authority Board members out for first aid CPR training tomorrow, so we'll do a twofer at least.
Well, anyone who can't make tomorrow can just come into my office, and I can just do it
Okay,
in my office.
okay. All right, anything else on pending? Okay, we'll go to audience participation. Of course. Thank you.
Robert Beadle, 609 Spruce Street. Thank you for the reappointment. There's a lot going on RCAC. I could give you a little more. It's been a long meeting, so I won't. But thank you. But I do want to say something about the membership for council on city boards and commissions. When I was on council, back then the practice was, like Clay said, you got appointed. I got appointed to the Harbor Commission, and with being on the council, Robert's rules was more, you learn a lot faster and stuff. So when you did these meetings, well, it wasn't long before I got elected chair, just because you knew how to run the meeting, or, what Clay's doing, making it more functionable. But what I see too is, to me, which is a great value, which I think you guys lose out on a lot, is you're up here debating things, you're assuming a lot, you're using your experience and your knowledge. But I see, chairpersons, representative boards and commissions, and nobody's here to report on that. And so things came up for the Harbor Commission that misinformation or something, or something that the rep on that board or commission could fill in so that you could make better decisions. And they're only one person, so on that commission, they're not gonna sway or the second bite at the apple thing, that kind of, you still only got one vote if you do vote. So you're not gonna dominate and make it all happen. So I really think it's a disservice to the council not having somebody at these meetings that could clarify information, help things move forward, help you make decisions. But right now you got to go on what you know. And if you don't know everything, if there's questions for the harbor master, he's not here tonight. There was a presentation by somebody else on it. So if there's somebody from the Harbor Commission on council, they could, oh no, it's this, or oh no, that was taken care of. So I really, don't get wrapped around the axle on it, guys. It's a lot, it could benefit you a lot better having somebody there giving you the skinny. Bites at the apple. How many extra nights did you spend at planning and zoning? It's not, it's not a perk. It's, you're volunteering, doing your thing. So but it was very important. Mr. Baylor, years on planning and zoning. It was great information when we're discussing things that he could give us what was being discussed, what was decided, how it got there. Great information. So don't short yourself. So with that, thank you. And
Okay, thanks, Robert. And yeah, again, I'll just put in a plug for those mayor's meetings of chairs of boards and commissions too, because it isn't just the mayor, it's the different boards and commissions get to hear what each other is doing, and it really facilitates good community-wide conversation. So been kind of a shortage of face-to-face communications the last couple of years. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Wendy Rainey, 2500 Orca Road. I first just wanted to give a pitch. As a member of many boards and commissions, it's actually extremely helpful for us to have a council member attend our meetings. It gives us some insight to the questions that council may be asking or information that we may look for. So I think limiting council membership to those meetings does a disservice to the boards and commissions. If nothing else, potentially asking the chairs to provide a written report if they can't come. I used to come to the meetings and provide an update for Parks and Rec, but then it was shortened and only specific boards were asked for updates at the meeting. So, it's helpful to the boards and commissions on that end as well for us to have a council representative sitting there. So that's just my 2 cents on that. I'd like to thank the library board for the proclamation. That's extremely humbling. So I won't get into that. But, and I left that board because I felt that there was going to be too much on my plate moving forward. And I think that boards and commissions, people don't understand what exactly boards and commissions do. And I'd really like to advocate for more committee members to put in for them, especially if they have a passion like literacy or the harbor or something that affects their day-to-day life. It's really important that we see our volunteerism go up instead of decline, because that's how information gets out there, and that's how we get to provide services to the community with our volunteer boards. And finally, I'd like to thank Helen and staff and the council members that reached out to me. Running for mayor was way out of my comfort zone and my purview. It was kind of a impulse buy at the register for me to do that. But having done it now and getting more involved mentally with where that position heads, I will say that you have not scared me away. I will be back. And I just wanted to say that the council members that reached out to me, the city staff that reached out to me and answered my thousands of questions regarding what's involved with political position in this community really were helpful and went above and beyond in making me comfortable with doing that. The voter turnout was incredible. And one of the things I wanted to push and I wanted to see happen was to see a minority vote come to head with some of the community members that we have in town. And I think that happened in this election. And I'm extremely proud that Cordova decided to come out and get their voices heard. So thank you. I know that's a little more than I planned on coming up here and saying, but I appreciate everybody's help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And it's also a good reminder, the chairpersons of boards and commissions, council did shorten that list, but we also had a tremendous amount of CCMC Authority Board work going on and the pandemic and other things. So anyway. Yep.
Ken Jones, 514 Sunnyside. As far as the council service on boards and commissions, I would like to see us go back to having it be mandatory. I think it's a huge benefit to the community. I think that memo from a city, attorney maybe was a little ill-cited. I think that maybe we need a second opinion on that, because for 20 plus years, we did it one way and it worked very well. You had very informed council members and engaged council members, and yeah, going away from it, I think was a disservice to the community as a whole. If we have other community members who want to be part of the process, I think that's great. And I would rather see the council look at expanding the boards, especially with the Harbor Commission. Let's get 2 more seats. If people want to be on it while we're doing this project, let's expand it. For years, we couldn't even fill the seats. So it's actually a good thing that we have people wanting to be on there, and we can always add seats to those commissions. We don't need to try to kick people off just for wanting to be engaged more. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sam, you're the last one in the audience. Any comments? Okay, well, thank you for audience comments and for attending the meeting tonight. Council always appreciates the input from the public, so. We have, get on the right side of my agenda here, council comments. I'll start with council online first. Councilman Meyer.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate all the meetings or all the information packet. Definitely be looking over the financial reports even more. I really appreciate them and that tax vault report. There's a lot to dig through there. I also really appreciate everyone that counted all the elections. Congratulations to all, and thank you for those comments on the other boards and commissions. I do think that it would be beneficial maybe if each council member, we each were on a board commission to do reports. I think that would be really beneficial. I do like the idea of having more information. The only problem where I really see is voting. I think that you can be an active member on those boards and commissions and take out the voting aspect of it, but still be part of the discussion and report back to council. I think that would be a really beneficial way for information to be flown both ways. Thank you all.
Hey, thank you. Councilman Sherman.
Thank you. I'm disappointed that IBW contract is lagging, but I still hope that we can get through that and maybe have it effective beginning in May so that we have that back on track. I think timing-wise, the May contract renewal is always way more efficient in the budget process. I really was happy to see the RFP out for the auditors. Kudos on that. The harbor report was really good and really useful, so I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you very much. The only other thing I have mixed emotions. It's good to have council people at commissions and have those reports. I remember back in the day when we didn't have everybody on the list, and not a lot of people did come and report, but I think I think it's important to have council be informed, especially with some of our bigger commissions like the board, hospital, harbor, and I think those are pretty critical. But I think that maybe we do have ex officio non-voting members or we assign to attend those meetings. And then I do agree that the mayor's quarterly or monthly meetings with boards and commissions is really valuable, and if nothing else, then the mayor at least can put back to council. And I hope that we start those once kind of we're all feeling safe and comfortable back in the same space. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, well, to start with, thank you for your 6 years of serving as our mayor, and at least you put 6 years as council and any other volunteer time. So I really appreciate everything you've done for this community. You've always had the community in the forefront, tried to do the best with it. So thank you for your time. A brief reminder to everybody, those of us been around for a little bit, there was a time when council was talking about disbanding the Harbor Commission because there was no meeting, nothing was happening, and it wasn't for the fact that Mr. Beadle at the time was on council and he objected and he got that Harbor Commission revitalized and got it going, and it's going good since then. So had we not had a councilman on that committee, it might have got disbanded. The letter that I received as far as tax cap and resale was poorly executed. I've had a lot of people call me and like, what the heck does the city want? What information do they want? We need to put that tax cap on the agenda and deal with it. And I would hope our incoming mayor would do that in our next meeting and get that going. We need to address those issues before this construction season gets started. And if we're going to leave it the same, that's fine, but we need to address it and address the concerns of those contractors and people doing work in town with that letter that you just received. And I'm thrilled that we went out and or in the process of getting a qualified attorney to help us with this harbor. So thanks to staff and everybody, and thanks for all those that got out and voted. It's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Baylor. Councilman Guard.
Yes, thank you. I also would like to thank the mayor for his long service. He's been the one constant here since the 5 years that I've been on council. I can always count on the mayor. Anyway, thank you very much for everything you've done, Clay. I'd like to thank staff for the packet. There's lots of information here. It was a good packet. Again, I have no problems with putting council members or council members being on boards and commissions. My issue is voting. And I can just say that we've had warnings from our attorneys saying that it may not be the best practice to leave them on boards and commissions as voting members. So I'm all in favor of anybody that wants to be on a board or commission being on a board or commission, but I don't think they should have voting powers on that board or commission. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much.
Hey, Councilman Allison.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thanks for the report that we had in our packet tonight. Thanks for the community input there. Regarding the election, I appreciate all the voters that came out, whoever they supported, and record turnout for a regular election in the past good number of years anyway, and that was much appreciated. It's good to see that involvement for the community, and I hope that we would continue to see involvement in our meetings and providing input to the council as a whole. Thanks to Councilmember Gleason for your years of service on the council. You're going to be missed on the council, and I wish you well in whatever you choose to do in the future. And Mr. Mayor, you'll have big shoes to fill, but I hope that I can humbly follow in those steps that you've led with. Appreciate all the work that you've done volunteering over the years, and as the former mayor of the city, your knowledge and input will be asked upon in the future, I'm sure. Hope to use you all as a reference in the future. So thank you for everybody that ran and those who didn't run. I hope to see you came out there again in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Gleason.
Thanks to Helen for putting that information in the packet, and thanks to Clay for being the chairman and being mayor. Did a great job. It's my last meeting, so they're probably gonna get pretty boring now. I can't say it was always fun, but I did enjoy serving my community. We had some pretty tough topics over the last 3 years, COVID, other things. So thanks to the community that voted for me. And my wife ever quits the city, I'll run again.
We'll hold you to it. Councilman Schaefer.
Yes, thank you to Helen and staff for putting the packet together. There was a lot of information in it, and it was all really helpful, so appreciate that. Thank you to the city manager for or city clerk for running a smooth election and great turnout. I'd like to thank Clay for serving as mayor. Like Councilman Guard said, you've been the constant while I've been on council, so it's going to be very different having someone else in that seat. I've appreciated how you've always run very even, balanced meetings. I'd also like to thank Councilman Allison for serving on council, and I'm looking forward to having him as our mayor and still having his insight and all his background knowledge about the workings of the city available to us. That's been really helpful for me as a new council member, or when I was a new council member. And then also Councilman Gleason, I've enjoyed serving with you on council as well. I'm bummed to see you go. You always ask good questions, so you'll be missed. So yeah, thanks to everyone who ran and submitted their name for boards and commissions. And there's still, like someone mentioned earlier, there's still a seat open. So I'm going to be texting someone after the meeting about that. So, but yeah, thanks everyone.
Hey, thanks, council. Well, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session, and after which we can take a short recess to clear the room. Helen and Susan, you can go back to Helen's office and have a coffee or beverage of your choice, and we'll dialogue appropriately.
Ooh, hello.
Can someone do the motion first?
Oh, boy.
I move to enter into executive session to discuss the city manager and city clerk's evaluations because they are subjects that may prejudice the reputation or character of the person, and the person may request a public discussion.
Public discussion?
And they have not.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, opposed? All right, we'll have a 5-minute recess and go into executive session.